I am Craig. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And so tonight, as always, on our Tuesday family meeting support group, we're going to bring you some good information dealing with the family, how we can address some of the issues that pertain to family and addiction. All right, addiction. All right, and so this article is brought to us by discoverynj.org. Go online and retrieve this information if you like. Discoverynj.org. All right, and so today's topic we're going to be talking about, and that is the 6 most serious effects of drug addiction on family members. This is our family support group. And so let's get right into it. If I have not mentioned, my name is Craig. I am a recovery coach here at Capital Recovery Center. And so let's see what the article is talking about. The article starts off with, it says, in their lifetimes, more than 21 million Americans ages 12 and older have had a substance abuse problem, which includes alcohol and drug addiction. Addiction is a disease that affects not only an individual's physiological well-being, but their psychological and emotional state as well. Much has been written about the negative impacts of addiction on the user. As much as addiction can affect the user, it can emotionally impact his or her family even more. Addiction and family have a unique relationship that isn't often seen by the substance abuser. All right, and so this article will discuss how substance abuse affects the family. Right, this article will be talking about how substance abuse affects the family. And so the first topic says the relationship between drug addiction and family members. When a family is trying to cope with a loved one who is struggling with an addiction, they tend to experience intense and conflicting emotions that can take a significant toll on even the strongest of relationships. The addict's family understands that their loved one isn't trying to cause problems or hurt them intentionally. This empathy makes them want to provide him or her with support, love, and encouragement. On the other hand, the manipulation, deceit, and other forms of emotional abuse that the addict throws their way daily is a cause of pain and frustration in the family. As a result, these negative emotions manifest themselves in unhealthy ways and may cause a strain in the family ties. All right? And so the following are some of the most, so we're going to be giving you 6, we're going to be talking about 6 most serious effects of drug addiction. And the first one we're going to discuss or share, and that is impact on children, right? The effects of drugs on family. And the first one we're going to talk about the impact on children. Studies show that 1 in 5 children grow up with a parent who abuses drugs or alcohol. If a parent is battling an addiction or substance abuse problem, the effects of that disorder are more than likely going to play a role in the child's development. This is especially serious in single-parent households where the children have no one else to turn to. When a parent has an addiction, they'll be too busy looking for and using their substance of choice, which distracts them from their responsibilities. As a result, they won't meet the need of their child. This irresponsibility ranges from not taking care of basic needs, such as providing meals and keeping the child clean, to secondary needs like ensuring the child is getting an education and social life. And so it goes on to say, moreover, this is a correlation between addiction and an increased risk of child abuse, right? So when the child is being neglected due to a parent, it says it stressed the point, especially a single parent household. A lot of times, the parent may neglect the child or abandon the child because they're so busy looking for the substance to use and forget about or neglect the well-being of the child. So there's this thin line where child abuse is being invoked. All right, and so research has revealed that abused children have a higher chance of getting into substance use and addiction later in life. Even if the child doesn't end up abusing substances, growing up in such an environment will compromise their emotional and mental health. This will impact their self-confidence, health, and social environment. And so a lot of times when a child is witnessing their parent, their mother, or their father using drugs or abusing drugs, the article says that it plays has a very impact their emotional and mental health as well. And so imagine a young child without any developmental skills or how to recognize and identify the emotions, psychological turmoil that they're witnessing as a young child and not having the coping mechanism to deal with it or express how they're actually feeling, no one to turn to, that can be detrimental, as the article says, to one's self-confidence, health, and social development. So we talked about the first aspect is impact on a child. We're talking about the 6 most serious effects of drug addiction on family members. And the first one we talked about impact on children. The second one is loss of trust. Addicts aren't likely to follow through on their agreements or promises. And this causes further strain in their relationships. It's worth noting, however, that most addicts usually mean to honor their commitments, but the effects of the substances make them unable to. Thus, if they're in a relationship, their significant other is going to be frustrated due to the addict's inability to meet their obligations. Okay, so this can also evolve from the children in the household, relationship with the parent, as well as the parent having a relationship with a significant other. And so a lot of promises has been broken, with trust has been lost because we as people who are living an active lifestyle, using drugs, people that use it, and they may mean well, the article says, however, because of the stronghold that the drug is having on that individual, wouldn't allow them to honor the promises that they have made. They're also likely to forget about the promises that they make to their children. If this becomes a trend, the child will have a hard time forming bonds with other people since they don't know how to trust, right? So now everyone be looked upon as with skepticism, with apprehensive, whether or not they can be someone that they can gravitate to get closer to build a relationship outside the household unit. And so this is major when it comes to social development as well. This loss of trust often results in broken marriages and dysfunctional children. All right, we're talking about the six most serious effects of drugs addiction on family members. And so the first one we talked about was impact on children. The second one we just went over and discussed, loss of trust. The third one we want to talk about, and that is increased stress. Okay, when we're dealing with drugs, manipulation, trust, uh, building bonds, uh, social skills, there is a lot of stress involved. All right. It says the article says in the throes of their addiction, the addict is likely going to leave all the responsibilities to their partner. The partner thereof, therefore, becomes an enabler. The partner becomes an enabler, taking care of bills, making decisions, raising the kids, and cleaning up after the addict is quickly going to take a toll on the other parent. This exposes them to an elevated risk of con- contracting stress-induced conditions such as high blood pressure and anxiety. Wow. Let's read that again. It says, taking care of bills, making decisions, raising the kids, we're talking about an enabler, and cleaning up after the addict is quickly going to take a toll on the other parent. This exposes them, we're talking about the enabler, to an elevated risk. We're talking about stress, right? Increased stress. This exposes them to an elevated risk of contracting stress-induced. It's called contracting stress-induced conditions such as high blood pressure and anxiety, right? So a lot of times when people develop these type of illnesses, we may not, it may not always be from the food intake, or it could be a contributor of the food intake. Sometimes people eat to relieve their stress, right? Sometimes people do other things to calm themselves down when they have anxiety issues. The article goes on and says, in addition, people who bottle up their stress are more likely to explode and unleash their emotion all at once. Wow. This can cause even more stress and discomfort among family members. All right. And so if you or someone that you know are experiencing some of these symptoms or some of these illnesses, my suggestion is that please seek professional help, someone, counseling, therapy, someone that can give you some sound advice. All right? Please, because a lot of times we don't want someone bottling up stress or feeling intense because of what's going on in the household or outside or surrounding them, and they not being able to express themselves appropriately. All right? So we're talking about behaviors, all right? And so the next one we want to talk about, financial problems. So once again, we're talking about the 6 most serious effects of drug addiction on family members, all right? So we dealt with 3 of them so far. The impact on children, right? Talking about drugs, loss of trust, increased stress, and number 4, now we're going to talk about the financial problems. Financing in addiction is cheap. Additionally, the substance abuse problem is likely going to cause the individual to lose their job due to poor performance or attendance. After that happens, they'll turn to their savings to quench their addiction. Consequently, the family will begin having problems paying for basic things such as food, clothing, utilities, and rent or mortgage. There may also be legal problems such as driving under the influence or being caught with drugs. The associated costs create an even bigger financial problem, right? Enablers might even provide money for alcohol or drugs to the addict to appease them. This is not only depleting their finances, it's also making the addict think that their family member will always be around to finance their fix. All right, so that was a lot being discussed there. Okay, And one of the things was job performance due to one being under the influence of drugs. And so uh, I am a believer that if someone is dealing with or under the influence of any type of alcohol, drugs, anything of that nature that will cause them harm or cause other people harm, I believe that that is an issue that needs to be addressed. And so, a lot of times when we're interacting with participants here at Capital Recovery Center, a lot of times we inquire what are some of the things or some of the barriers that you are facing at the current time. And if they say that they're still using alcohol or drugs, however, they would like to get employment, that is something that is a red flag. And so we will always inform them, I will always inform them that I will want to set them up for failure. Let's try to get some help. Let's try to get some professional help. All right. And so, because a lot of times, as the article may mention, you may get caught with drugs on you, and now there's more financial issues on top of the ones that you're already faced with. Especially if you get pulled over, you have drugs on you, and the officer arrests you. Now you got to get bail, things of that nature. So now you are depleting the finances that you already have, or you may be causing more strain on a family member. Okay? And so be mindful of that. And so the fifth one we want to talk about, and that is the physical and emotional abuse. We're talking about the six most serious effects of drug addiction on family members. And the fifth one we want to discuss is physical and emotional abuse. In addition to making the addict irrational, their substance abuse is also likely to put everyone around them on edge. Right? Let me read that again. It says, and in addition to making the addict irrational, their substance abuse is also likely to put everyone around them on edge. This means that simple disagreements can result in big fights as everyone feels misunderstood. With everyone acting out of character, physical abuse may start occurring on top of the pre-existing emotional abuse. Addicts can be the perpetrators of abuse, but their vulnerability also put them at risk of becoming victims of it too. So there's a flip side, all right? Children of addicts might also end up becoming abusers as well. In an attempt to shift blame from the addict parent, some children may end up acting out and misbehaving. These actions can later scar them and cause them to turn to drinking or drug use as their relative did. Right? Abuse and addiction can become a deadly cycle that can only be broken by treatment. Let me read that again. Abuse and addiction can become a deadly cycle that can only be broken by treatment. All right. And so a lot of times, I know when I was using as an active user, when I was using drugs, especially when I was younger and I started out as an adolescent, when asked or approached about me, my substance use, was I using, I will always be in denial. I will always say, no, I got it under control. I can handle it. But in all actuality, it began to evolve, escalate. And so it came to the point where I actually needed treatment. I had to really find out why was I still craving? Why was I still having these urges to use? Why I can't understand what triggering me to use drugs. And so once I began to identify those three aspects, my trigger, urges, and cravings, then I began to have a different perspective of why I behave, why I indulge or interact with drug use. Okay? And so that's my share on that. And so the sixth one we want to talk about, and that is Fear and confusion. Once again, we're talking about the six most serious effects of drug addiction on family members. This is our family support group. All right. If you know someone who's struggling with alcohol or drug consumption or abusing it, please seek professional help. So, the sixth one we want to talk about fear and confusion. The article goes on to say drug abuse usually makes an individual behave unpredictable. You never know how they'll react to a situation. In a bid to avoid physical or emotional abuse, family members might begin walking on eggshells to appease their addicted loved one. You know, and it's something to live in a household where your family members are feeling unsafe or feeling edgy when you're around or feeling scared or nervous because they don't know how you may respond or react from one moment to the next. And so that is something very serious. And so we need to take an introspective look on the inside of ourselves and figure out how can we put our family members, our loved ones at ease by getting some treatments, getting some help, plain and simple. All right. It said children will become more reserved so as not to risk upsetting the individual. The end result is a culture of fear and confusion, which ensures that the household rarely has joy. All right, even the children, they're fearful to get one upset because one may not respond in a rational way, and that may cause a fight or argument or disruption in the household. Things get thrown around, broken. Then there's medical issues, and then the law enforcement have to come and get involved. So those things we ask or advise people to really, 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 really seek help. All right, so we have a few more aspects that the article want to make mention of, and that is addiction and family roles. It says when a family member is struggling with substance abuse, he or she is supported by several relatives. There is a shift in the dynamics of the home once addiction comes in, and there are 6 dysfunctional roles that each family member plays to sustain balance and normalcy. Each role can give you a better look at how substance abuse affects the family. All right? 1, the addict. The addict has the central role of the family. Substances come first in the addict's life, and as a result, he or she ends up hurting, manipulating, and lying to their loved ones and family members. They tend to blame others for their problems and end up isolating themselves from the people who care about them most. Many addicts don't want to stop using, and this can cause resentment and anger among family members. 2, the enabler. The enabler usually comes in the forms of a spouse, partner, or in a single family household, the oldest child. In some cases, it can also be the child who is closest to the user. The enabler tends to pick up after the addict and pays the bills, makes sure the house is clean, and ensure that the children go to school. They may even provide the addict with money for drug and alcohol to appease him or her. This behavior masks the enabler's inner feelings of betrayal, anger, and hurt, which the addict has caused. And so now the roles have been reversed. Instead of the parent being the caretaker of the children, now the oldest sibling or oldest child have to be the caretaker of both the sibling and the parent. Okay? And so now the article says there becomes resentment, okay? Anger, betrayal, hurt. The next we want to talk about the hero. The hero, usually the older child, is an overachiever who is hardworking and typically earns straight A's in school. The hero acts like this to cover up the guilt, inadequacy, anxiety, and stress they're feeling inside. They also try to convey a sense of normalcy in the family and feel the need to take on more and more responsibility. Performing at this level can put a great deal of stress on the hero, resulting in high anxiety. The next one we want to talk about the scapegoat, the rebellious member of the family. The scapegoat is a child who acts out and frequently behaves to distract themselves from the turmoil that's going on in their house. Scapegoat ends up getting blamed for the family problems, and they often resent the addict for putting them in this position. All right. Then we have the mascot. Then we have the lost child. All right. And so these are some of the things that we want to share with you tonight, dealing with uh, the effects of drugs, uh, addiction on the family member. And so if you know anyone that's struggling with substance abuse issues such as alcohol or drugs, please seek professional help. Seek someone that will give you some sound advice and someone who will be honest and who would tell you the truth of what you need to do about this. And especially if it's a family household that's struggling with this as a unit. And if you're just a family friend, please seek some help as well so that we all can stay safe. All right, until the next time, my name is Craig. I'll see you on another support group. Take care.